Hi, everybody. This is no 1,736, I believe. So, and we are burning. It's very late. Sorry, everyone. It just can't be helped. This is, every day we talk about when Richard was abducted, when he was forcibly removed. We know that because there are witnesses. That was withheld from us. That we know that Richard was murdered. That was withheld from us until uh, April 24th of 2024 when they declared him dead, because the evidence that we have documented and filed with, um, you know, so many agencies and institutions was so overwhelming that they declared him deceased. And then in January uh, 24th, just 4 days after President Trump took office, Richard was declared in the line of duty when he was found dead, right? So that changes everything. And so we know that he was murdered on Fort Bliss in the line of duty. And but the leadership set out to have a campaign against Richard, and I want to explain why they did that, and why it was so brutal. Um, and but first, before we do that, today has just been so much evidence coming in, y'all. So much evidence, and part of that evidence, the hard evidence coming in, and evidence that we're still going through, that we have received, that we're still going through and still finding just amazing nuggets of facts that would just blow your mind, of the evil behind this. But the evidence that we received today um, is jaw dropping because it confirms that we were right all along. That Patrick Crusius's brother, Brian Blake Crusius, got married in 2021, the spring of 2021, um, to Alexis Maiella, the El Paso federal courthouse manager's daughter, and also the brother of Michael G. Maiella, that was in the Walmart cybersecurity, that was in the DA's office with James Montoya, which was kept from us, right? Which and also under Jaime Esparza's administration, which was kept from us, right? And Jaime Esparza absolutely knew who Richard was. Um, is absolutely knows who Richard is, because yeah, all of that hard evidence is going to come out. And and then, of course, he was with the Michael G. Maiella was with the FBI, so who was investigating the Walmart mass shooting. And the Walmart mass shooting absolutely targeted President Trump. The narrative um, was developed to target President Trump. There's no other reason to have that narrative. The lone shooter, we know that the evidence confirms there's multiple shooters. Uh, the I just picked out that Patrick Crucius just picked out randomly El Paso for its Hispanic population. We know that that's wrong because you have uh, his family right there in the federal courthouse, right there in the DA's office, right there with Walmart cybersecurity, right there in the El Paso FBI field house. You have Brian Blake Crucius living in El Paso this whole time, married to Alexis Maiella, and the 2021 marriage. The can you imagine? Um, can you imagine what scum they are? It's just I don't even have to ask you to imagine it because it's so terrible what they've done. It's so, so terrible to be living there and to know that the narrative is false and the narrative has been so divisive and so uh, eh, has hurt so many people, including our son Richard Halliday, because they did that narrative for politics' sake, um, for their criminal activity's sake, um, and it has to do, of course, with the border. It has to do with President Trump's policies. But you know what? He was voted in. He was voted in by the people. It wasn't the cartel tied criminal network, Maiella Crucius family, that gets to decide on what the policies are for the United States. Um, we are a republic and we have a democratic election. Well, we have an election. Uh, and it's a very republic style election. We can get into that, but um, the people decide. The people of these United States decide. That's why we have the Electoral College, so that little places like New Hampshire have a voice. That uh, North Dakota and South Dakota have a voice. That Arizona has a voice and Idaho has a voice. It's not just California or Texas or New York that gets to decide every time. Everyone has a voice in this, and it's not for the Maiella Crucius El Paso criminal network that gets to decide on what the policy is for the United States. President Trump was voted in 2016, and he was voted in to assert his policies, just like he is right now. And for this criminal group to, really, it's like a mutiny with the military. Um, it's it's not like a mutiny. It was a mutiny because we knew back then. We knew back then what was going on when we got there. We knew back then. And the more that we've learned about the Walmart mass shooting case, very quickly, you only have to take 30 minutes out to look at the evidence and say, heck, no way, this is not a lone shooter. No way. The evidence shows it's not a lone shooter. And the evidence and of course all of our audio recordings, and we've just put out a few of them. There's so much more of Joe Spencer, and of course Loretta Lynn Hewitt and everything else. Even his twin sister marrying a Hispanic. um it's they're all getting married. They're all you know getting on with their life, but Richard was murdered. Richard was murdered, and many other people were very hurt. Look at all the victims in the Walmart mass shooting. And these people are just the worst of the worst. um and then Patsy, right? Who is not a white supremacist. He has admitted that. He's not a racist. He didn't just randomly pick El Paso. It was orchestrated. It was an operation. It was very, very simple. You only have to take out 30 minutes and you can see it, right? And then to have them so brazen, uh, just smug and self-satisfied in their criminal activity that they can go out and get married and right there in the middle of the city, they don't even have to move away, right? They just can. Well, they got married in Bexar County, but it's like they're just so. Then they come back, and then they come back. It's um, it's really it's it's frustrating for me. It's so heartbreaking to see people so evil, you know, to know that people exist that are that evil. It's so heartbreaking. Because that means what happened to the children, what happened to, Leilani Hart's confession and everything. It just brings it more to r- realistic to me and how cruel they were to Richard, what they did to Richard. I just is just what they did to Vanessa Guillen, right? This was like, a snubs up to Vanessa Guillen, to Richard Halliday, to all the children. It's just there. It's heartbreaking to know that such evil, evil people exist, and they need to be held accountable. They need to be held accountable for this. But we've been right all along. Um, and they got married. Well, Bob Moore, El Paso Matters, they reported on it, but they didn't. They early on, but they kept it a secret. They knew about it. They just hinted at it. And because we've been investigating day in and day out our son's murder and that's intertwined with the Walmart case. We came across the 2020 article by El Paso Matters, and it just jumped out at us. It just jumped out, and so after knowing who the Maiellas were and figuring that all out, absolutely anyone there, like Veronica Escobar, like Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, they all knew, right? And so the violations are so big, and the mutiny, and you can just see that the first target was President Trump, very, very clearly. And Richard was a whistleblower for, he could absolutely expose that what they were doing was a lie, that the narrative that they falsely were putting on President Trump was a lie, right? Because he would expose the cartel tied criminal trafficking on base, intertwined with the military. He could expose that, and then uh, that would expose what was behind the Walmart mass shooting. And so he was really uh, a, a danger, to a risk and a danger they couldn't take, for exposing their criminal network and their mutiny and their treason. Richard absolutely would not put up with their treason and mutiny. He respected the rule of law, and so they went after him. First, they abused their power, and they used the tools that we have given them uh, to do evil and use it as retaliatory, severe and continuous retaliatory um, uh, against Richard, uh, forces against Richard, to destroy him, destroy his military career, to harm him physically. I mean, they had him wearing full body armor, a full body gear, a full battle rattle for 45 days, with only 4 hours of any kind of free time, meaning sleep time, um, and wearing a mask, and for what? Because he would stand up and against the criminal trafficking, for the children, for our military, for our country, for our president, that he would not engage in the mutiny that they were engaged in, that he would not engage in the treason that they were engaging in, um, because they didn't want the policies, because they were cartel tied, because they wanted the open border so that they could continue their criminal trafficking network. I mean, this is, it's very, uh, it's very obvious why they went after Richard, and why they went after him, why they ended up murdering him, why they covered it up, because it would all lead back to their mutiny, their treason, their sedition, and that there are absolute traitors. And it's not easy for us to put um, David Stewart's face up there with treason. He's a traitor. He's a treason. He's a traitor. We saw it in front of our own eyes. And and I want everyone to understand this, that when we went on Fort Bliss, when we were in the El Paso Fort Bliss area, day in and day out, on the corners, many, many people saw us. They're witnesses to it for months, day in and day out, that we were rallying and that we were absolutely confronting soldiers, and that they were shaking. Okay? They were shaking. Even the command sergeant major were shaking. The treason, and the mutiny, the sedition that the leadership was engaged in, was causing severe psychological problems in our military. I'm telling you, they were shaking. And I've been saying that for years. And it was absolutely psychological torture when you are in chaos, when you are in crime, right? When you are in crime, because every cell of your body knows that you're committing a sin. And today, I named this a Maiella sin. How can your heart must just be so callous and hard, right? When you're committing these atrocious sins against our country, against our president, against the people, against the land, right? In our military, in our criminal judicial system, it's just, the crime level is so evil, and so treasonous, and so seditious, and of course with the military it's mutinous. So yeah, the people shake. They do not have a peace that passes understanding. They are absolutely miserable. And that's why you see some people that are super rich that are totally miserable, right? Because their sins are screaming right through their bones, right through their cells, right through everything. Every little hair on their body is screaming um, chaos and betrayal and destruction and sin, right? And so the Maiellas, it is heartbreaking to see how even the church covered this up, right? Covered up this marriage. It is really to see that marriage license, and to know that the church that they were married in covered this up, while these false narratives were being put out there, and Patrick Crucius was the patsy, right? And I'm not saying he was totally innocent. What I'm saying is that the narrative, the whole case was a circus and was a money grab, greedy, and it was treasonous. It was really a bloody mess, a bloody crime, a huge one, a huge one, and it not the way that they wanted us to believe. It's a Maiella crime because of their power within the criminal judicial system. And of course, uh, you can't do anything in El Paso without Fort Bliss. They're they're connected, right? With all the contracts, with all the politics, everything, with all the media, they're connected. And you better believe me that the command there knows what's going on in El Paso. They know who the players are, and this was absolutely um, so criminal, so criminal. So it's hard to put that up, but we have more that we're going to be sharing with you because evidence is, really there's so much of it, and we've for a long time, we've been waiting for the right time. Um, well, there's so much to go through, but to put in a claim. And so we're working very, very hard on that, going through all of the evidence that we have. And sometimes when you revisit the evidence, something new sticks out because, you might not have all the information like a year ago or um, months ago, and then now you have more and more information, then all of a sudden it means more and it sticks out, and it gives new information that you didn't realize that you had. So this is what's going on, because these claims need to go forward, um, and the media now is they seem to be there's some media right now. I want to tell you because normally I'm just really negative about the media, but there is some media that is churning. They're churning now. They're starting to like, okay, maybe I can do this now, because the leadership has been so evil for so long that it has gripped our media. And the media is so important because they could never have carried out this mutiny, this treason, unless they had the media in their grips. And you see that with kind of like this mockingbird media that they talk about, where they're always repeating, the same thing. You can tell that they're in the grips of this evil cartel tide, a foreign and domestic enemy tide, um, criminal network. So, uh, but now I'm telling you, I think because President Trump just took a funding away from NPR, um, I think other media's churning. At least that is what um, we are seeing and hearing and in communication with. And so that is very well welcomed in this world where we're just fed lie after lie after lie. You have to come to find Richard Halliday to get the truth, what's going on in El Paso. And that is, we're not a professional. I mean, this is just little family wanting justice for their son. And it's just madness to think that El Pasoans, their best place that they can come to. to get the news, and it's true, is find Richard Halliday. So please share our information. I don't see anyone else talking about the unauthorized individuals that are posing as judges in the criminal law magistrate court. I don't see anyone else talking about the illegal unauthorized chief medical examiner. I don't see anybody else talking about James 2028 stamp Montoya. I don't see anyone talking about that. I don't see anyone calling Bill Hicks a usurper. I don't see anyone. Uh, I saw one person alluding to the Maiella family, not naming them, but alluding to it. So that's starting to churn a little bit. Um, but, and I don't think anyone else has the marriage certificate of Brian Blake Crucius and Alexis Maiella. So this is the best place to come. And of course, what's going on Fort Bliss. So we will, yeah, we're hoping that that changes, right? That media will absolutely start doing its job. So we'll be the first one to celebrate on that one. So thank you so much for coming on, Anicia. Thank you so much for your prayers and your love. It's been really just a super full day with all the information. As you can imagine, I've just tried to put it out and put it out, and we have even more. We have information about Judge Sam Madrano and him attacking the Fifth Amendment, the taking the Fifth, and here there's cartel all over that case. And if you take the Fifth, he attacks you, while he likes to gag and to seal, and his standards are so criminal. They're definitely not uh, about your civil rights because you absolutely anyone and who he attacked was Rosales, right? Yvonne Rosales. She had every right with all the cartels surrounding her, cartel tied individuals, and a man, and all the attacks she was getting. Um, she had every right to take the fifth. Um, Absolutely. And and she can because it's her right. It's her right. It's all of our right if we want to take the fifth. And Sam Madrano might want to take the fifth one day, right? He might want to take the fifth. But here he is attacking, and which is very, very dangerous because then when another person wants to take a fifth, um, they might not get the support, right? So we need to support our rights. Um, and he's supposed to be doing it as a judge. And so his violation is even more severe than any one of ours because as a judge, he has much more responsibility, especially to maintaining good discipline and respect for the law. So him pulling that crazy stunt, um, he really does get the name the most corrupt judge in El Paso history, the most corrupt judge in El Paso history. That wasn't me, but I think they're right. Yeah, we have information on that and much more on Joe Spencer. But this marriage certificate is a big deal. So please share it. Please share it with all your friends because that's what's going to move to get justice for the Walmart victims, for Vanessa Guillen, because of course I've been in communication with Gloria Guillen, and she absolutely doesn't feel like her daughter um, has gotten justice, full justice, and neither do we, right? And so, the more that we do this for, and we knew that we kept the picture of Vanessa and Richard always to our close to our heart, and she knows that, and uh, And so we're working very, very hard to get justice. And of course, that would require the tribunals and the military. So, and of course, the representatives, they they're two-faced, and so they need to be driven by the American people to do the right thing. Um, so this is really important for you to share, and we appreciate that very, very much. So like and share, and talk to other people about what's going on. Okay, thank you so much. We'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow. Today.